Meanwhile, in parts of northeastern Ukraine that have been liberated from Russian occupiers, police are facing an uphill battle when it comes to restoring rule of law. Our correspondent Max Zander joined a police team near the Russian border and has this report on the difficulties they encounter on the job.
A school caught in the crossfire. The war is creating extra problems for police detective Alex. He said anti-tank grenades from this site found their way into the wrong hands. This footage shows their operation confiscating them from a civilian.
People have changed during the war. Now almost anyone can get any weapon they want without any trouble.
A similar case had a tragic end.
That time, the man gave the military almost all the weapons he had found, but kept one grenade for himself. After he experienced some health problems, he wrote a farewell letter to his mother. He left it with his documents and then blew himself up at home.
Alex says he and his colleagues are seeing more suicides, and they're becoming practiced at collecting evidence of new alleged crimes, as we're about to experience. We head north to the Vovchansk area on the border with Russia. We have to cross the river on foot.
So we've just been asked to turn our phones off, and that's because we're moving closer to the Russian border right now. The Russians are known to be monitoring phone signals. In the past, have used them to pinpoint their targets.
Alex and his colleague Karina are here to investigate a strike. It's basic police work in a war zone.
60 centimeters deep.
Gathering evidence, keeping a record. The owner of this field was making herself a cup of tea when she heard the first impact. She hid in the cellar and avoided injury. The evidence will be sent to a lab to determine what it was that hit. But the case seems clear to them. Civilians were attacked. It was a war crime.
You can see for yourself that except for the yard of the local civilians, there's no military equipment, no military personnel. There's not even critical infrastructure that the Russians love so much. I don't know. Maybe they were just aiming for a cornfield.
The blast also damaged her house.
Nobody is injured, but the house is messed up. Thank God I was where I was, because something went inside the house. Something smashed the window and hit inside. It is full of glass.
Her living room becomes a makeshift police station. Neighbors make statements and show the officers documents. Everyone has losses which need to be recorded. The officers' jurisdiction ends at the border, but they're doing what they can.
All the guilty will be brought to justice. Every single one of them. It'll be unavoidable after our victory.
If the time comes, Alex and his co-detectives will have evidence to offer a court.
Our correspondent Max Zander filed that report and joins us now from Kiev. Max, you accompanied these police officers for several days. So what are the biggest problems for them?
Right, Gerhard. So above all, this area, the Vovchansk area, very close or on the Russian border, pretty much was an impoverished area with lack of logistics structure even before the war, now even more so. Now, these police officers we accompanied there, the force is dealing with a lack of officers to investigate crimes. They have issues with logistics, cars, for example, to move around, to patrol the area, and then you have these constant power outages, so electronically processing evidence, witness statements, that kind of stuff makes police work really hard at the moment. And above all, you have the attacks from the north, from perpetrators that you cannot apprehend, that you cannot do much about at the moment. Just to give you an idea, it's not just military that's being attacked. We saw there's civilians being attacked, but even the police officers themselves. As we were filming in the police station, we heard in the evening, we heard a number of shells coming down, mortar strikes in the direct vicinity, and administrative building had been hit in this incident. And this just 2 days prior to our filming had been the makeshift police headquarters that the police officers just had moved out to, just to give you an understanding of what the situation there is on the ground.
Now, the police officer in your report, Alex, has said that he is convinced that all the perpetrators of war crimes will be brought to justice. But how likely is that, really?
I mean, it's a difficult conversation, and you probably need a lot of faith to do that job. That's for sure. If we talk about this specific incident from the report, will these specific mortar crews be brought to justice? That is very hard to determine. At the end of the war, in many months or many years, perhaps these crews may be somewhere else, or they may be not alive anymore, may not be able to apprehend them. But what they can do is they can collect as much evidence as possible, determine what exactly happened there, and then connect this evidence to a bigger picture, create a bigger picture. There have been cases during this war in Ukraine where regiments and individual commanders could be tied to individual war crimes. So the hope is that this can also be done here. And then the arm of justice, or the justice has a very long arm, so to say. So you have this evidence, it does not go away, and then perhaps in some years' time, this can be brought to a tribunal and be used against perpetrators. Somebody may eventually go to jail for this.
Now, let's come to the war as such. What's the latest news there?
Right, so we had some of the heaviest attacks in recent days, just this weekend. As you know, there has an apartment building in Dnipro has been hit. Now, latest figures have suggest that the death toll there has risen to roughly 35 people right now. Search and rescue operations are still underway, but almost 2 days have passed now, and given the freezing temperatures here, it seems unlikely at the moment that many more of the 35 missing will be rescued alive. So this operation is likely turning into an operation of recovering bodies at the moment.
DW's Max Zander there reporting from Kyiv. Thank you very much, Max.